Hi Stampers, it's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Today I have another fun technique. It's using one of my favorite things to do, which is blending a background. And this one has a little bit more of the northern lights, and it's got some stars that I speckled using some white craft ink. And then I'm making my own moon in case you don't have your own moon stamps. I'm going to show you how to do that by using our masking paper or with die cuts, a circle die cut. So this is my first card. This one was actually inspired by a painting that I saw on Pinterest. So I kind of just took the blue. So this is one we're going to be making today. This is just another one. I just had a sentiment on it, just showing it. And then I was sticking with this background colors. And so I did a shaker card using the new aspen tree dies that you can get for free during celebration. They've added some other ones. So this has kind of got that blended background in the back, or the northern lights in the background, and then I just did the little flat shaker card. And I do have a tutorial on how to make these, so be sure to check that out. Here's another one with the aspen tree dies. This time I made the pattern paper do the work, and then I made my own moon with the die cut, and then I just kind of stamped a little background image. So I'm going to show you how to do a version of this one today too, just to show you, or not this one, but the next card, just showing you how you can make your own moon with the die cut. So that's another one. So go through your pattern papers and see what can work. And this is another one that's got some pattern paper. And this is actually some retired paper, but I'm using up my scraps. So another kind of fun shaker card. Using the Grove dies, which makes it really easy. So I'm going to show you how to do that today as well. So we are going to get started. Oh, sorry, my dogs are, the hounds are with me again in the craft room. So we're going to do this one today, okay? So I am using Campology for my trees and then the tent. And then for my moon from Oceanfront, I just took this little speckle stamp, and that's what I'm going to use to add texture to my moon. So go through your stamps, find something that's got a little bit of bumps or just some texture, and that's what you're going to be using for that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get started. All right, so we have, and I like to use especially with when I'm blending inks, I like to use our thick white, basic white. So it's got a little bit of thickness to it. Make sure there's just one here. Yeah. Because we're going to be saturating this with a lot of ink. But before we do the inking, I needed to first do my tent. So we're going to stamp and emboss the tent. I'm going to show you how to mask. And that's how we're doing the tent and the moon. And then we'll do our tree. So first we're going to stamp our tent. And we're going to use, since we're embossing. Oh, I know, Quinlan. Tell me your story. Quinlan's he wants to stamp with us too today. Okay, so we're going to, Stampin' Up! Finally has brought back the embossing buddy trays. So this is like from 20 years ago when I first started. So I'm so glad that they brought these back. So it comes with the tray, it has the embossing buddy, and then it's got a couple different brushes to use to help. So this is just an old Stampin' Up! Watercolor brush that I use, but the new kit now has all of that with it. So that makes a great thing where you're embossing. So we're going to get rid of that static electricity on our cardstock by using our embossing buddy. And then I'm going to, and this is going to be in Versamark. So you can either, if you have a black pigment ink, you can do that, or you can just do the Versamark and then a colored, like a black embossing powder, or you can do a black embossing ink and then clear embossing powder, whatever works for you, whatever you have on hand. But I'm just going to do the Versamark. So we're going to go, let's see here. I'm going to go down just a little bit farther than what I did before. So you're not really going to be able to see this because it's in clear until I add the embossing powder. So you'll just put this back in the tray, pour your powder on, and then just take your brush and then wipe if there's any little extra granules, just wipe those away. And then we're going to emboss this. And I'm using my silicone mat behind here just so that it'll. So you're just going to emboss until it gets shiny. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so now we're going to take, because I need to make a mask, we're going to take the masking paper, which is brand new with Stampin' Up. So this, you get 12 sheets and they are adhesive back. You want to make sure you're stamping on the side that feels more like paper. This other side has got a little bit of a shine to it. That's the back. So you want to stamp on the front. And I'm going to do this in just black ink so it's easier to see it. And then we'll just cut it out. Now, my original one, so I did 3 cards and it's just starting to seep through. That's why I'm cutting out. So you can do more than 1 card with it, but I wanted to do a fresh one for this video. So now you're just going to, since there's no die for this, and actually when you're masking, I do cut because I just want the tent. So I'm cutting up very close to that stamped image, and I'm just cutting out the tent. I'm not worrying about the poles and the grass. So I'm going to go a little bit more at an angle here. Sorry, I'm trying to see this and show you at the same time. And then cut that. So we're just cutting the tent and not worrying about the grass and the little tent poles and stuff. And so, like I said, so this is adhesive back. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use my pick tool and just trying to pick up that backing. Okay. So now this is a sticker, so it's tacky. We're going to place that directly over my tent. We're also going to take, so I took the, I had them out and I'm trying to see them. I had used the layering circle dies, and I cut out already, I die cut it from this masking paper. I die cut a circle, and this is about, on this one, this is like a little over an inch and an eighth, give or take. So that's from this die cut. So it's just one of the smaller circles on there. So again, this I've already I had it started. We're going to remove the backing. So now this is sticker. So this is just a die cut. So I'm going to place this where I want my, you know what, I'm trying to think. Did I think I should do my trees first? I'm going to wait on my moon. I take that back because I want my tree in front of my moon. So I am going to, unless I position it down. Let me look at my stamp here. I put my moon here. I'll put it on the other side. Yeah, I'll switch it. Okay, so we're just going to put it down. I'm just going to put it on here. I'm going to switch sides. We'll put our moon on this side for this card. Okay, so now those are masked. I am going to now do my tree. So the trees need to be embossed as well. So again, I'm going to use my, and this is from that Campology. These are just a grouping of trees. I'm going to ink this up in the Versamark. And we'll stamp. I just want to make sure this isn't sticky. So I'm just making sure this is got the powder on it. And I'm going to stamp my tree. So now this is masked, so I can stamp directly on top of that tent and it's not going to matter. And I need 2 sets of trees. So I'm going to re-ink it. And then do my other trees. You know what? I am going to remove this mask because this is going to hit it. So we'll come back and do, I'm going to emboss my trees and then we'll put the mask down because that is going to hit it. Okay. And then we'll add the embossing powder. Oh, I should have taken my mask off my little tent there. I forgot that. So before you add the powder, remove your mask because otherwise it's going to have all this powder stuck on the mask. And you want to get this, take some of that off. Because you don't want to emboss with that mask on. Okay, so we'll just make sure that all looks like it's got powder on it. And then I'm just going to pick this mask off carefully with my pick tool. Because we'll need to add that back on once we do our ink blending. Okay, and then we'll emboss this. So lots of steps on this card, but it is a really cool card once it's done. Okay, so now let's emboss this. Okay. Now we're going to put our moon back, the mask. So I'm just going to place that right on top. I'm going to put the mask of my tent back on top. Some of that powder off of there. Okay, so the masks are on. Some of that excess powder off of there. Okay, now comes for the inky fingers. We're going to start with the Northern Lights, and you can do a combination of your blending brushes, if you've got sponges, sponge daubers. What I like to do for, especially with this green, sorry, I'm just going to wipe some of this off here, because I wanted the pretty, or Parakeet Party, that green, I wanted it to be really streaky. So I took my sponge dauber and I'm going to hold on to my mask just so it doesn't move, but I kind of did my streaks kind of going up, and just be careful that you're not catching. Sometimes you have to go down because you don't want to lift off that mask. So now I've kind of got more of those like That's streaks. Okay, then we're going to go, and I'm doing 4 colors. So you can do a combination of 2 to 5, whatever you want to do for your Northern Lights. I'm doing a lot of I'm doing the 4 of the 5 in colors. So I'm doing Parakeet Party, Tahitian Tide, Orchid Oasis, and Starry Sky for my colors. So I've done the green. Now I'm going to come in with my Tahitian Tide, which is kind of like a turquoise. And sometimes if you want, you can go ahead and kind of tap off some, because I just re-inked my pads. So I'm going to come in here, and in a circular motion, I'm just going to be adding some of that blue, and then I'm kind of be pushing up to kind of get those streaks again. And then I'm kind of careful around my moon mask, because I don't want to lift it off accidentally. And we're just going to do some burnishing, kind of circular motion, getting that blue. Then push away to get some streaks. Sorry, my dogs are very vocal today. Our one greyhound, Kira, she's not feeling well. The vet had put her on some antibiotics, and she actually got sick from the antibiotics. So we're kind of closely monitoring her, because she hasn't been eating and she's not doing very good. So hopefully, think of her in your prayers. Okay, this is Orchid Oasis. This is kind of like a purpley violet color. And I'm just going to do this on my bottom of the card first. And sometimes, to help with the inky fingers, take a Post-it note, and I've got my fingers on the tacky part, just to hold on to. This way it helps you not have such inky fingers. So I'm just circular motion, kind of burnishing. I'm leaving a little bit of white, not completely solid. And then I'm going to take this Orchid Oasis, and I'm going around the edges in that circular motion. And then kind of careful around my moon so I don't accidentally pull it up. Oh goodness, we got lots of action going on in the stamp room today with the greyhounds. I think they know their sister isn't feeling well, so they're all kind of concerned. Okay. And then I'm going to do a little bit more of kind of that pushing and adding some streaks. All right, and then I'm going to take my darkest color, which is Starry Sky. This is, so it's, again, it's got that little bit of a purple to it, but it's not like Night and Navy. It's, it definitely has a little bit more purple to it, but it is darker than the Orchid Oasis. It's a good one for skies. That's why it's called Starry Sky. Okay, so this I'm just really focusing more on the edges of my card, just because I want it to be really, really dark. Rotating, and this is where it's nice to have that silicone mat on the bottom of your cardstock, because it helps kind of with the brush hitting the paper. It's a little bit more smoother transition. It doesn't get caught. Just do a little bit darker. Okay. Then if you're kind of happy with that, okay, and we're going to do one more thing before we remove our masks. I like to add my stars. So with the stars, what I've done is I have a one of my acrylic blocks. I placed white craft ink refill onto it, and then I added with my water painter. I just got it wet. And this is where I need to move my stamp pad so I don't get white ink flicked all over them. So I'm just going to close these up really quick. because it will splatter everywhere. Okay, so those are out of the way. Okay, so we're gonna take, I think I've got enough on here. I might add a little bit. So squeeze a little bit of water because you want it to be a little liquidy. Because what we're gonna do, so now I've got quite a bit of kind of paint and then the water on there, or not the paint, but the crafting refill. And now we're gonna take, and I like to just take my bone folder, if I can find it, there it is. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna keep this kind of at an angle and about, gosh, maybe 3-4 inches away from your card. And you're going to tap and move this around so that you're getting, zoom in a little bit here. You're making your stars. And I'm just focusing on the 3/4 top of my card. Okay. And then you want to let that dry before you touch it. So I'm just going to give it a quick shot with the heat gun. Just to dry that ink. And then I want to wipe off my silicone mat so I don't get blue ink where I don't want it. Okay. So now that's done. You next want to take your pick tool and you want to lift up your mask from your moon and your tent, because we now want to make our moon. So like I said, I took from the waterfront. This is that little kind of speckle stamp, and I'm using Sahara sand, and I'm just gonna focus stamping just to add give my moon a little bit of texture. I just put it just on that one top part of my moon. You then can take, if you want to soften up the edges, I took another little dauber and I'm just really, really lightly just kind of softening the edges of my moon. I'm barely touching this. It's just giving it a little bit of softness to it. Okay, so that's how you make your moon with the mask. I now need to color in my tent, so I'm going to use some stamping blends, and I'm doing the light and dark, I think it's Daffodil Delight. I'm doing the light pumpkin pie, and then a little bit of gray granite if needed. And I only brought that because if I had, like here, I don't know if you can see it, that white line, I'm going to take my gray granite and I'm just going to blend that so that you don't see it. So I'm going to start with the light Daffodil Delight, and I'm just kind of scribble and blend, and then I'll go in with the dark Daffodil Delight, just add a little bit of highlights. And then I took the pumpkin pie, and I just did a little bit of this just to give it a little bit darker shading on the bottom. And then I'm going to go back again with that light Daffodil Delight and then just blend the colors all together. And I'm going to take this gray granite, because again, here's that line. I don't like to see that, so I'm just taking that light gray granite. That's just where my mask was. All right, so that's that. So So that's the starry, the northern lights, and then your moon mask. So let's go ahead and finish the card. So I like to mat this onto white just to pop it a little bit. So this again was 3 3/4 by 5, and this is the basic white cardstock, the thick one. And then this is just our normal basic white, and this is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to adhere this to the front of my card, or the front of my quarter sheet here. And then I like to flip it over just so that I'm not pressing into all that inky background. I just use my bone folder and swipe. And then we'll attach this onto some neutral cardstock. I think the one I grabbed was gray granite, but like Sahara sand would work too. But I really like this gray granite. Or smoky slate would work as well. So same thing, I just make sure it's centered. Just give it a swipe. And then I do a quarter sheet of just basic white on the inside of my card. I always like to have that white layer on my card. And I'm going to leave this one blank for sentiment, just because I'm not quite sure what I want to use this for. So there is that northern lights and your moon background. So very, very pretty. All right, so now I'm going to show you, if you don't have the blending brushes or the inks, go through your pattern papers and find papers that kind of give you that same effect. So again, this is a retired one. It was from like, what was it now? It was from a couple years ago. I think. Oh yeah, Sia Silhouette. It had all this like brusho background. But I'm also finding that where's the one that I did? The sun prints or pretty prints, that's what I did on this one. This one was the sun prints background paper. So that is another one that would work as well. I just had grabbed it. This was just sitting in my stash. So for this one, we're going to be using that Grassy Grove die and then the deers. So I've already positioned this on here. So this die, so this is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. This die fits on here perfectly. So I've already ran it through my die cutting machine. And so it is going to pop out all of this. And so then you've got this really pretty tree silhouette. Now my desk is going to be a disaster zone here. But I wanted just to show you that you really just need a quarter sheet for this one. And then this is great too for making shaker cards as well. I probably should have used my brush die, but my brush die is on my other side of the room on my die cutting stand, so we're just doing it this way. Okay, make sure they're all poked through. Okay, and then let's sweep this aside. Hopefully I'll hit the garbage can so Jeff doesn't get upset with me. Okay. All right, so like I said, this one was from the Groves die, which has, like I said, this awesome die. It has these little solid deers. It has a hill that you can make. It's got trees, and then it's got the stamped deer that you can die cut, as well as just your actual die cut deer. So that's another really fun stamp set and bundle that I use quite a bit for masculine cards. All right, so for this one, I am just going to position this pattern paper onto my card base. And again, I'm kind of using that gray granite. And this one I cut because I wanted it to be a little bit smaller. So this was 4 by 5 1/4, and then I die cut it. This is just a smidge smaller than that 4 and 5 1/4. Okay, so just a smidge. Okay, so I've got that on there. Then this is just going to layer on top. So I've already got that kind of really cool starry sky. But before, oh, actually I should have done this before I did it. But before I put my card front on, I was going to show you can still do that speckled stars with your paint, or your water painter and your white crafting. So I'm probably gonna get a little bit on my card base, but it'll be fine. So do this before you put it on the card base. I'll kind of focus it more, hopefully here on the center. So I can still get that starry night. Kind of that galaxy background, which is kind of cool. A little bit more water on here. So you can still do this onto your pattern paper instead of your blended ink background. Okay, then all right, I got a little, I should have moved this out of the way. I got a little white paint on my card front, so I'm just taking a damp cloth to it just to wipe off some of that. Okay, now this is going to be attached on to the front. So I'm just going to use my liquid glue to adhere this. Now, if you're doing this as a shaker card, you know, you do your shaker walls, or you would do like how I have the flat shaker using your plastic packaging that's left over. That's why I said I've got that other video, which I'll link to if I try to remember. But it's called my flat shaker card tutorial as well that I just did a couple weeks ago. So I'm just kind of focusing on these little, this is where the liquid glue comes in really handy because there's so many little pieces on here. Got the majority of this so it won't pop off my card. Okay. And then this is going to go on my card front. So now I'm using, this is Blackberry Bliss. My other sample that I did, I had done Night and Navy. So now this is Blackberry Bliss. Kind of changing it up a little bit. And then, oh, I forgot I was going to put my moon in here. Oh, I am not doing very well today. Okay, before you put this down, I got to show you how to do your die with your moon. So I'm just going to leave this off like now. Okay, so I took a die. This is just basic white cardstock. I die cut it from my circle die, and this one is about, and this could be any size, so it's just 2 inches. So again, I'm going to take my little speckle stamp from my ocean front, and I'm just going to do, kind of stamping off, I'm just going to do 3 little images, and I'm going to take that sponge dauber again, and I'm just kind of adding ink, just some dimension on the edges. So now there's my moon. This time I'm going to take my Wink of Stella and I'm going to add a little bit of glimmer to this moon as well. So this just adds a little bit of shimmer. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. So a little bit of shimmer. So now I'm going to tuck this. I'm going to put the glue on the back of this. And we'll tuck this moon right about there. Press this down again. And then I already die cut a couple of the deer, and this is from the brushed metallic cardstock. I just thought these would kind of pop a little bit. So we'll go ahead and add these. I think, and I've got my little saying, which I already die cuts. I'm just kind of figuring out where I want to put this. Brighten my path. This is always the fun part. Where to put it? My fingers are sticky. Hold on while I clean these off. Okay. And I think I will pop these up the same with a dimensional. I already know I want this popped up. So I'm just going to put a couple dimensionals on the back of this. I think we'll just go maybe we'll just keep it back here. I know, I'm like trying to decide how I want this. Yeah, I think I will just put this down in the corner here. So that was kind of popped up, and then these, okay, we'll kind of tuck him underneath there. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the back of my little deer. And we'll tuck the little fawn kind of underneath. I still was able to do that. And then we'll kind of tuck that one too, I think. All right, and then I have a few little gems, I think. I may add just a couple little, oh, maybe I won't. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it. Okay, so there you go. That is your galaxy sky with your moon using either the blending brushes or using your pattern paper to make your galaxy sky. So thanks again for watching. I will put a link to my other tutorial where I show you how to do these shaker cards with that plastic wrapping or packaging that you have on hand. And again, as always, thanks for the support. Thanks for watching, and I will stamp again with you again soon. Bye-bye.